I still remember holding the phone to my ear, frozen in place while the woman on the other end asked, "Is this Ethan's wife?" I said yes without thinking. She hesitated, then told me she was calling because Ethan had missed another child support payment. For a second, I thought she had the wrong number. "My Ethan? Child support?" I wanted to laugh, but my hands started shaking. I asked her to repeat herself. She did. This time slower, clearer. Each word felt like a hammer against my chest. She said she wasn't trying to cause trouble. She just needed him to take responsibility like he promised. I thanked her and hung up before my voice could crack. That was the moment my world split in two. I didn't confront him right away. I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the wall, trying to decide if I was going to scream, cry, or pretend it didn't happen. But none of those felt right. Instead, I grabbed a notebook and wrote down every detail I remembered from that call. Her name, the child's age, the amount he owed. I knew one thing. I wasn't going to react. I was going to respond. For the next few days, I acted normal. I packed his lunch. I kissed his cheek before work. I even asked about his day, all while collecting evidence behind his back. I found hidden bank withdrawals, secret emails, and receipts for toys I had never seen in our house. Every discovery hurt, but it also made me stronger. I realized I had been living with a stranger who was using me as cover. He didn't love me. He loved the comfort I gave him. At night, I lay beside him, listening to him breathe, knowing there was a child out there who shared that same breath. A child he chose to hide from me. What hurt the most wasn't the cheating. It was the fact that he had looked me in the eyes every morning and lied like it was nothing. I made an appointment with a lawyer. I handed her my notebook. She called it gold. She told me to stay calm and let him think I was clueless. So I did. I played the role of the loving wife while quietly building my escape. It was strange, living in the same house as someone I had already emotionally divorced. One evening, he came home late again, smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. He said he stopped to help a coworker with her car trouble. I nodded, pretending to believe him. Inside, I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just certainty. He had already killed the marriage. I was just preparing the funeral. The day I was ready, I waited for him at the table with 2 cups of coffee. One for him. One for me. When he sat down, I slid the papers across like I was serving dessert. He looked confused, then scared. I didn't yell. I didn't explain. I just said, "You should have told me. Now you can tell the judge." It didn't happen all at once. It started slowly, almost quietly, like a change in weather you don't notice until you're already standing in the rain. Ethan began staying later at work, or at least that's what he claimed. He used to text me when he was on the way home, sometimes asking if I wanted ice cream or if I had eaten yet. That stopped. Now his messages were short and cold. Busy. Don't wait up. He started taking late-night drives, saying he needed to clear his head. At first, I believed him. I even offered to go with him once, and he snapped back with, "I just want to be alone." That one sentence stayed with me. He had never said anything like that before. After that, I paid closer attention. His phone became a part of him. He kept it face down, even in the shower. If I walked into the room while he was texting, he would lock it instantly, pretending it was nothing. He also changed his passcode without telling me, which was strange because we used to know each other's passwords to everything. When I teased him about being secretive, he brushed it off, saying his company made him update it for security reasons. But I saw how tightly he held on to it, even bringing it into the bathroom like it was a life support machine. Then came the money. I handled most of our finances, so I noticed when cash started disappearing from our joint account. Small amounts at first, then bigger ones. When I asked, he said he was helping a coworker who was going through a rough time. I wanted to believe him, but something in his voice didn't sit right. It was too rehearsed, too smooth, like he had practiced the line before saying it. I didn't argue. I didn't nag. Instead, I stayed quiet and watched. I began writing things down, dates, times, excuses. If he noticed, he didn't show it. He thought I was clueless. He thought I was still the trusting wife who asked no questions. But my silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. Sometimes I would stand at the window at night and watch him drive away. No destination given. No explanation offered. I didn't follow him. I didn't call him. I just stood there, thinking how strange it was to sleep next to a man who was drifting further away from me every day, even when lying 6 inches from my body. The Ethan I knew was slipping away, replaced by someone secretive and guarded. But instead of chasing him, I stepped back. If he wanted distance, I would give him all the space he needed, because I knew eventually the truth would show itself. And when it did, I wanted to be prepared, not shocked. I was doing something as ordinary as laundry when my life shifted without warning. I was checking the pockets of Ethan's jacket before tossing it into the wash. Usually, I found loose change or old receipts. That day, I pulled out a folded piece of paper, wrinkled and soft from being handled too many times. I almost threw it away without looking, but something made me open it. It was a hospital bill. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then I saw the words clearly printed at the top: paternity testing, laboratory results and fees. My eyes moved to the bottom, and there it was, Ethan Mitchell. His full name, his signature, not photocopied, not typed, signed in blue ink. My hands went cold. I kept reading, hoping it was some kind of mistake. But there was more. Another name, April Larson. I didn't know her. Underneath that, it listed child age 4 years old. We had been married 7 years. I stood in the laundry room staring at that paper, hearing my heartbeat in my ears. He hadn't just cheated. He had built an entire second life behind my back. A child. A whole child I never knew existed. While I was planning anniversaries and holidays, he was sneaking off to take DNA tests. While I stayed up late waiting for him to come home, he was probably rocking someone else's baby to sleep. There were no tears. Not yet. Just a heavy, sinking feeling like the floor disappeared under me. I sat down on the cold tile, holding that paper like it was a bomb. Because it was. It blew apart every memory we had. Every "I love you." Every "you're my everything." Lies. All of it. I didn't rush to confront him. I didn't even move for a long time. I just sat there, reading the same line over and over. Ethan Mitchell. Signature confirmed. My husband had signed his name to a child I never knew about. A child he had hidden for 4 years. I thought about every late-night drive. Every excuse. Every work emergency. It all made sense now. The pieces locked together like a cruel puzzle I never asked to solve. I felt stupid for not seeing it sooner, but I reminded myself, he was the one who lied, not me. I folded the paper back up and put it in my pocket. I didn't crumple it. I didn't tear it. I kept it flat and clean like evidence. Because that's what it was now. Not just a bill. Not just a mistake. It was proof. Proof that my marriage had never been what I thought it was. Proof that I had been living in someone else's carefully crafted illusion. And from that moment on, I decided I was done playing the blind wife in his story. It was time to write my own. I knew that if I confronted him too soon, he would twist the story, deny everything, or cry his way out of it. I didn't want his explanations. I wanted proof, solid, undeniable proof. So I hired a private investigator. I had never done anything like that before, but I approached it like business. Calm, clear, no emotions. The investigator's name was Daniel. He didn't ask many personal questions. He just looked at the documents I gave him, nodded, and said, "I'll find what you need." That was enough for me. For the next few weeks, I went about my life as if nothing had changed. I cooked dinner. I folded laundry. I sat on the couch watching movies with Ethan, pretending everything was normal, while secretly waiting for updates from Daniel. The first report came through email. Short. Direct. Ethan had been sending monthly payments to April through a separate bank account I never knew existed. He used cash deposits to avoid leaving a clean trail. But Daniel was good. He found everything. There were records dating back 4 years, birthday gifts, medical bills, rent support. Ethan wasn't just helping occasionally. He was fully involved. The second report hit harder. There were photos. Ethan holding the child. Ethan picking them up from daycare. Ethan sitting on a park bench with April, laughing like he didn't have a wife waiting at home. Some of the timestamps matched the same days he told me he was in Chicago for work meetings or Nashville for conferences. He wasn't pitching sales. He was playing dad. I stared at those photos so long my eyes burned. There was no mistaken identity. It was Ethan, my husband, smiling in a way I hadn't seen in years, smiling freely, smiling honestly. And suddenly, I realized something. He had been happier in his lie than he had ever been telling the truth with me. The worst part wasn't that he cheated. It was that he built a whole second life while using me as cover. To the world, we looked like a stable married couple. House, cars, dinner parties. Meanwhile, he slipped away whenever he wanted to play family with, then came home to me like it was nothing. I wasn't his wife. I was his alibi. That realization didn't make me cry. It made me focused. Calm in a way I didn't expect. I understood now that this wasn't just betrayal. It was strategy. He had planned all of it. Every lie, every excuse, every late-night drive. Well, now it was my turn to plan. I didn't tell Daniel to stop. I told him to keep digging. I wanted every detail, every receipt, every lie laid out in black and white. If Ethan thought he could play 2 lives at once, he was about to learn what happens when the quiet one stops being quiet. He thought I was clueless. He had no idea I was already 3 steps ahead. I chose a regular evening to confront him. No special occasion. No warning. I made dinner like I always did. Roasted chicken, vegetables, his favorite mashed potatoes. He sat across from me, scrolling through his phone, not even looking up. I waited until he took the first bite before I slid a folder across the table. He glanced at it, confused, then opened it. Inside were copies of the hospital bill, bank statements, photos from Daniel's reports. At first, he didn't react. His eyes moved slowly from one page to another. Then his hand stopped. His face went pale. He knew exactly what he was looking at. For a long moment, he didn't speak. He just stared at the papers like they might disappear if he refused to blink. Then he swallowed hard and whispered, "I can explain." I didn't say a word. I just looked at him, calm, silent. He shifted in his seat, suddenly uncomfortable. He put the papers down and started talking fast, stumbling over his words. It was before things got serious between us. I didn't know how to tell you. I was trying to protect you. I didn't want to lose you. It just happened. Excuses. Pathetic, rehearsed excuses. He said he had planned to tell me eventually. He said he was going to fix it. He said he still loved me. Every sentence sounded like a line from a bad script. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just listened. My silence made him panic more than any shouting would have. He kept reaching for my hand across the table, but I moved it away. He stood up and tried to come closer, but I leaned back. He begged me to say something. I didn't. Finally, he whispered, "Can you forgive me?" Forgiveness. He expected me to hear years of betrayal, months of lies, secret visits, and hidden payments, and just forgive him because he said he was sorry. He wanted me to carry the weight of his choices like I had carried his dinner plate, but I wasn't carrying anything for him anymore. I stood up, collected the dishes calmly, and placed them in the sink. He followed me, saying my name over and over like that would change something. I turned to him and spoke for the first time since the confrontation began. "You weren't protecting me. You were protecting yourself." His mouth opened, but no words came out. For the first time, he had nothing to say. The lies had run out. I walked past him and went upstairs. I didn't slam the door. I didn't lock it. I didn't cry into my pillow. I simply lay there, staring at the ceiling, knowing one thing for certain. I could never unsee what I saw. I could never unknow what I knew. There was no marriage left to save. Only paperwork left to file. After that night, everything between us became silent and cold. He kept trying to make small talk, asking if I wanted coffee or if I needed anything, but I didn't respond. I didn't fight or argue. I treated him like a stranger renting a room in my house. And that's exactly how I started to see it, my house. While he was busy acting nervous and guilty, I was busy planning. I called a lawyer. I didn't tell Ethan I was leaving. I didn't even hint at it. I sat in that office calmly, explaining the situation like I was reading a report rather than describing my life. My lawyer listened, then asked whose name the house was under. I told her the truth. It was in mine only. I bought it with my inheritance before we got married. Ethan had never contributed a single dollar toward the mortgage. She smiled and said, "Then he has no claim to it." Just like that. One sentence, and I felt a weight lift off my chest. I wasn't going to be the one losing everything. He was. Then she said something even better. Because he had been financially involved with someone else while married to me, it counted as adultery. That meant I could file for divorce with legal penalties. In simple words, he would be forced to pay, not just emotionally, but financially. I could walk away clean. He would walk away with consequences. I left the lawyer's office with a folder full of paperwork and a mind full of strategy. I didn't want revenge through shouting or smashing plates. I wanted it through signatures and legal terms. I wanted everything documented, everything official. No second chances, no loopholes. At home, I acted normal. I cooked, I cleaned, I went to work. Ethan tried to talk to me several times, but I kept my answers short. Okay, fine, sure. He probably thought I was still processing everything. In reality, I had already moved on mentally. I was just waiting for the perfect moment to move on physically. I stopped wearing my wedding ring. He noticed but didn't comment. I slept on the far edge of the bed. He stayed awake most nights, staring at the ceiling like a man waiting for a sentence to be spoken. I had already delivered it, just not out loud yet. I made copies of all documents, stored them in a safe place, and set up a separate bank account in my name only. I left nothing to chance. He had been hiding things from me for years. Now it was my turn. But the difference between us was simple. His lies were built on deceit. My plan was built on truth. I wasn't going to argue about loyalty. I was going to prove it on paper. And when the time came, I would place that final folder in front of him. Not for discussion, not for forgiveness, but for closure. No screaming. No begging. Just strategy. I chose a quiet morning to end it. No arguments. No warnings. Just peace. I woke up early, made coffee like I always did, and sat at the table waiting for him. When he walked into the kitchen, he looked tired, like he hadn't slept at all. Maybe he knew what was coming. Maybe he didn't. Either way, I was ready. He sat down across from me, expecting silence like every other day. Instead, I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder. I didn't push it gently this time. I placed it firmly in front of him and said just 2 words. "Sign it." He blinked, confused. He opened the folder and saw the divorce papers. His hands started shaking as he read through them. His eyes widened when he realized what they said. No alimony. All assets frozen. The house legally confirmed under my name. Our savings account split in my favor. Custody of our dog going to me permanently. And the best part, he was now legally required to pay child support for both emotional damages to me and continued support for the child he had hidden. He looked up at me with panic in his eyes. Please, Laura, can we talk about this? I shook my head. My voice was steady when I answered. We've already talked. You just didn't tell the truth. He tried to argue, saying we could work through it, that he never wanted to lose me, that he made a mistake. I didn't react. I let him speak, but I didn't take in a single word. His voice was just noise by then. When he realized I wasn't going to change my mind, he stared at the papers in silence. Then slowly, like a man walking toward his own judgment, he picked up the pen. He hesitated for a moment, maybe hoping I'd stop him. I didn't. He signed. One smooth line of ink across the page, and everything between us officially ended. 7 years of marriage closed with one motion. He set the pen down and whispered, "Is that it? After everything, that's it." I stood up and picked up the folder. That's it. No hugs. No final kisses. No dramatic goodbye. Just closure. He stayed sitting there, staring at the empty space in front of him like he expected something more. But there was nothing left to give. I walked past him, grabbed my keys, and headed toward the door. Before leaving, I paused and said one last thing without turning around. You lied for years. I told the truth once. That's the difference between us. Then I walked out. The signature he thought would free him did the opposite. It locked him into responsibility. It protected me and exposed him. And as I stepped into the morning air, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. After the papers were signed, everything moved quickly. Ethan had 30 days to leave the house, and he didn't fight it. Maybe he knew better than to push his luck. He packed his belongings into worn-out boxes and moved into a small apartment across town. I later heard it was one of those places with flickering hallway lights and peeling paint. A far cry from the 2-story home he once bragged about to his friends. He went from king of the house to tenant of a shoebox. As for April, she expected him to step up now that everything was out in the open. She thought he would be more present, more involved. Maybe she imagined them becoming some happy little family. But that fantasy didn't last long. Reality hit her the same way it hit me, with disappointment. Ethan wasn't some noble father weighed down by guilt. He was a man who ran from responsibility the moment it became uncomfortable. When the legal payments started draining his bank account, he became bitter. When April asked for more time with him, or more help with the child, he argued. She saw the same thing I had seen. He was unreliable. He was selfish. He did enough to look good on paper, but never enough to truly commit. At one point, he tried calling me, pretending he wanted to talk things through. He sent long messages saying he had changed, that he was going to therapy, that maybe someday we could start fresh. I didn't bother replying. I blocked his number, his email, even his mother when she tried to convince me to forgive him, because marriage is about patience. No, marriage is about honesty. And he failed at that long before I failed at patience. He even showed up at my workplace one afternoon, standing by my car like some lost puppy. When I saw him, I didn't even stop walking. I said, "You need to leave," without making eye contact. He tried to reach for my arm. I stepped back and warned him that if he didn't leave, I would call the police and have it added to the divorce records as harassment. That shut him up quickly. He looked at me then, really looked at me, like he was finally seeing someone he no longer had access to. Someone he couldn't charm, guilt, or manipulate. I got into my car and drove away without waiting for his reaction. From that moment on, I made a rule for myself. I would never again carry the weight of someone else's mess. Ethan had made his choices. Now he could live with them. His downfall wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was slow and lonely. The kind that eats at a person quietly. And the best part, I didn't have to lift a finger to make it happen. I simply walked away and let his own actions destroy him. After Ethan was out of my life, the silence in the house felt strange at first. It wasn't painful, it was unfamiliar. For so long, I had lived in tension, always watching, always wondering what lie would come next. Now there was nothing to wait for. No footsteps at midnight, no fake apologies, just quiet. At first, I didn't know what to do with that peace. I sat on the couch one evening, realizing it was the first time in years I wasn't nervous about anything. That's when I decided I had to rebuild, not just my routine, but myself. I started going to therapy. I'll be honest, I didn't think I needed it at first. I thought I was fine because I didn't cry or break down. But the therapist helped me see something important. I had trained myself to survive, not to live. I was good at keeping calm, hiding pain, controlling my reactions. But I hadn't allowed myself to feel anything for a long time. We worked through it slowly, not with dramatic moments, but with small realizations. I learned that silence doesn't always mean strength. Sometimes healing comes from speaking. Sometimes moving forward means admitting that something hurt, even if you survived it. I reconnected with old friends I had drifted away from during the marriage. People I stopped calling because I was always covering for Ethan or too embarrassed to explain his absences. When I told them the truth, they didn't judge me. They stood by me. We went out for dinner, took weekend trips, laughed like we were teenagers again. I realized how isolated I had been without even noticing. I also started new routines. Morning walks with my dog. Cooking meals just for myself without worrying if someone else would approve. Reading books without checking the time. Sleeping early without waiting for the sound of a garage door. The first night I slept peacefully. I woke up with tears in my eyes, not from sadness but from relief. No dreams. No fear. Just rest. One evening, I stood in the bathroom brushing my teeth and caught my reflection in the mirror. I looked different. Not younger, not older, lighter. Like someone had lifted a weight off my shoulders that I didn't even know I was carrying. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't want revenge. I didn't care what Ethan was doing or who he was pretending to be. He no longer had space in my head. People think healing happens in big moments, like vacations or new relationships. But for me, it happened in small ones. Quiet mornings, calm nights, slow breathing. I didn't just get my life back. I got myself back. And this time I promised I would never lose myself for someone else again. Looking back now, I realize that power doesn't always come from loud reactions or dramatic scenes. People expect anger to be wild and explosive, but mine was calm, controlled. I didn't need to throw anything or scream to prove how much he hurt me. I let my silence do the talking. My strength wasn't in my voice. It was in my actions. That signature I gave him was more powerful than any argument. It wasn't just a legal document. It was my decision to walk away without letting his mistakes define me. I didn't lower myself to his level. I didn't try to make him feel what I felt. I simply removed myself from the story he tried to write me into. Sometimes revenge isn't fire, it's ink. It's a signature that says, I choose myself. It's refusing to waste another tear on someone who didn't value you. It's letting their downfall happen naturally while you rise quietly. I didn't need to ruin his life. He did that on his own. All I did was step aside and let consequences catch up with him. People often think betrayal is the end. It's not. It's a turning point. When someone shows you who they really are, you get to decide what happens next. For me, the answer wasn't chaos. It was clarity. I didn't just survive what he did to me. I turned it into my power. I walked away with dignity, with peace, and with the satisfaction of knowing I never had to become cruel to win. I didn't break. I didn't beg. I didn't fight for someone who never fought for me. So if someone is reading this and feeling that familiar ache in their chest, thinking the only way to heal is to explode, hear me clearly. You don't need to burn everything down to rise. Sometimes the strongest move is to simply sign your name, close the door, and never look back. In the end, he lost more than I ever did. I lost a liar. He lost a loyal wife. I walked away clean. He walked away exposed. And that, to me, is the quietest, sharpest form of revenge there is.